In this lecture, we are going to discuss ISO standard 29134. We will start by defining what the ISO is as an organization. We will then define 29134. We will look at how 29134 defines privacy impact assessments. 29134 has a rigid 5-step process for conducting PIAs. Remember that for the exam. So we will look at that process. We will then look at the follow-up that's required and then the report's components. So what is ISO? This is not on the exam. This is purely for your own information. ISO is an acronym that stands for International Organization for Standardization. And I know it's ISO, not iOS. And I think the ISO has something to do with the fact that this is a Swiss organization. And ISO is an independent, non-governmental, international standard development organization. It consists of representatives from national standards organizations of member countries. ISO was founded in 1947. It has published over 25,000 standards and has over 800 technical committees. What is ISO 29134, you ask? Well, it is the guidelines on structure and process of privacy impact assessments. 29134 defines a PIA as a process of identifying, assessing, and mitigating risk, which is awfully familiar with the other definitions we've already seen. It is also an iterative process with stakeholders to include data controllers, data processors, and IoT processing devices. 29134 would like for us to begin the PIA at the earliest design stage and then follow a 5-step process. That 5-step process is identify PII flow, analyze use cases, select controls, assess risk via identification, analysis, and evaluation, and treat privacy risk. And the two sibling standards that 29134 would like us to use to treat privacy risk are ISO IEC 27002 and 29151. And for what it's worth, I'm not a particular fan of the word treat here as a synonym for mitigate or control, but that's what it means. And just as another FYI, the full titles for standards 27002 and 29151 are as follows: Information Security, Cybersecurity, and Privacy Protection, Information Security Controls. And 29151 is Information Technology, Security Techniques, Code of Practice for PII Protection. Concerning the conducting of our PIA, it is also important to do follow-up after the initial PIA is completed. This includes preparing the final draft or report and publishing the PIA if your organization publishes them. Implementing a treatment plan. Again, treatment here is control and mitigation. And of course, as we've seen elsewhere, reviewing and revising as needed. The different components or sections of the 29134 report should include an assessment scope that identifies the risks, threats, probability of risks materializing, and the potential impact of those risks, privacy requirements, risk identification, evaluation and treatment, conclusions, and decisions. In this lecture, we went over ISO standard 29134, guidelines on structure and process of PIAs. 29134 defines PIAs as a process of identifying, assessing, and mitigating risk. It is an iterative process with stakeholders to include controllers, processors, and IoT processing devices. The 29134 5-step process is identifying the PII flow, analyzing use cases, selecting controls, assessing risk via identification, analysis, and evaluation, and treating or controlling/mitigating the privacy risk. Follow-up should be preparing a final report and publishing it if your organization publishes them, implementing a treatment plan, and reviewing and revising as needed. Finally, the report's components should include the assessment scope, privacy requirements, risk identification, evaluation and treatment, conclusions, and decisions.